Now, before I talk to you about Irish migration, there's a little moment that I want you to know about, which is how the British Empire was celebrated. If you can imagine it, Britain was doing some horrific things around the world that you now know about. And the thing is, Britain wanted the British people to like that. So Britain did a lot of things that we could class as propaganda to make the British people love the empire. They made Britain sound like the best country in the world, the richest country in the world. There were stories in textbooks from school saying that Britain saved these lands from being worse off without them. They said that Britain deserved to rule the world. There's tons of evidence and propaganda about it, and I urge you to look it up after you watch this video. But this video particularly is about Irish migration to Britain. So what you need to know here is why they arrived, their experiences they had, and the impact they made. As simple as that. So let's talk about it. Why did the Irish people move to Britain? Well, Ireland is obviously close to Britain, but they wouldn't just... Irish people have had a long history of Britain that you know is probably not the best. The Ulster plantations and Henry II invading have made Ireland have, shall we say, an annoyed disposition towards the British people. They're not a part of the empire. They just kind of sat there like... Look at those idiots over there, evil people. They actually dislike British people. But the thing is, Ireland is an island. It is a smaller island than Britain. It is not as rich. It is not as powerful. And that means that when something goes wrong, it actually can have a bigger impact on the people. There's no cushion to protect them. See, Irish people are famous for potatoes. A potato is a very useful, should we say, vegetable. Or should we say starchy food. It is a very reliable food source. It is the base of most meals in Ireland. It is the base of most people's diets in Ireland. It grows very well in the soil in Ireland. It is basically like rice or pasta for other cultures. Potatoes is the culture of Ireland. Well, in 1846, a disease called potato blight took hold of pretty much every potato in Ireland. It spread throughout the entire country, and for that year, no potatoes were edible. Now, imagine taking away rice from everyone in the world all at once. So many people across so many countries would be put into starvation because rice is the only thing they have access to, and that's exactly what happened to the people in Ireland. Their only food source was gone, so they needed to find ways to eat. Every other food item would cost more money. The fact that, should we say, everything else cost more money made rent increase. People were forced out of their homes and people had to leave. Over 1 million Irish people migrated out of Ireland to escape the famine, and over 1 million people died from starvation in Ireland. Now, a lot of those Irish people did move across to the USA and other places, but a good number came to Britain. I think the number in total is actually about 500,000 people came to Britain. Now, when they arrived in Britain, these Irish people were a very different sort to, should we say, let's say a black person. See, Irish people looked like English people, except they had a very distinct different accent. And that meant that the British reacted, should we say, in a very different way towards Irish people than they did towards, should we say, someone with different colour of skin. See, what they attacked, rather than attacking skin colour, they attacked, should we say, traits. These Irish people turned up in Britain with almost nothing, which meant they had to live in really, should we say, poor housing. If you see the top right picture is a picture called the Jennings buildings, a series of flats that were basically overcrowded, covered in sewage, covered in trash because there were so many people stuffed in there because they couldn't afford anywhere else to live. This meant Irish people were often dirty, which meant they often caught diseases, and British people began to blame Irish people for spreading diseases, which isn't exactly true. And on top of that, to, should we say, numb the pain, Irish people would often be seen drinking alcohol in pubs and bars, and this meant that there was a reputation for Irish people to be drunk, and that also inspired, should we say, people to attack them for that. Including that, because of this drunk allegation, that meant that crime was blamed on Irish people as well, and it just, should we say, became a form of racism towards Irish people. In fact, they were compared to dogs. And that led to their impact being, should we say, even though they were treated horribly, Irish people did have an impact on Britain. They worked as a thing called a navvy, which basically is a railway worker. They built canals, like digging the canals, and also connecting the railways up, because this is all during the same period of industrial revolution in Britain. And you could say that most, if not all, of the railways and canals, particularly around Liverpool in Britain, were built by Irish people. In fact, most of Liverpool's population has Irish roots. But you need to know more than that. I've told you only a hint of what you need to know about Irish people and their migration. So look it up in the textbook, please. How was the British Empire celebrated? Why did they move to Britain? What was their experience? And what was their impact? Know them all, revise them all, write it down. Off you go. Good luck.